When you stop talking to a woman, you might think nothing will happen, that she'll just forget about you and move on. But the truth is, your silence almost never goes unnoticed. Whether she admits it or not, it stirs something in her. And what happens next might surprise you, because sometimes it's not what men expect, and it's not always in your favor. See, most men think going silent is a magic trick to make her chase. They expect a text, a call, maybe even an apology. But what you need to understand is that silence is a mirror. It forces her to look at herself and her feelings toward you. And depending on who she is, that reflection can make her want you more, or make her double down and try to replace you. Imagine a crowded room where two people are talking. One of them suddenly walks away without a word. Everyone notices. Even if they weren't paying attention before, now they're wondering why. That's the power of silence. It creates questions, and questions create emotions. Women feel that shift deeply because they're wired to notice changes in attention. If you're new here, welcome to the channel. This is where men learn how to navigate the quiet moments that can change everything. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what goes on in a woman's mind when you stop talking to her, how she's likely to respond, and most importantly, how to use that response to your advantage without chasing, begging, or losing your frame. When you understand this, you stop guessing and start playing the game with clarity. And trust me, once you see these patterns, you'll never unsee them. 1. She will test your silence. When you stop talking to a woman, one of the first things she's likely to do is test your silence. It's human nature. When someone changes their behavior, the other person wants to see if it's real or just temporary. For a woman, this means finding subtle or direct ways to see if you're really committed to not reaching out. These tests can take many forms. She might post something on social media that she knows you'll see. Maybe a picture with another guy. Maybe a quote that sounds like it's aimed at you. Or even something overly happy and carefree to make you think she's moved on. Sometimes she'll send a small, harmless message like, "Hey," or "How have you been?" Not because she's ready to reconnect, but because she wants to see if you'll jump at the chance to reply. Think about a man named Chris. After months of drama in his relationship, he decided to stop talking to his ex completely. 2 weeks later, she posted pictures with a group of friends, one of them being a guy she'd once said was just a friend. Chris saw it and felt the urge to break his silence just to ask who the guy was. But he didn't. A week after that, she sent him a text asking if he still had one of her old hoodies. It wasn't about the hoodie. It was a bait to see if he'd respond. He stayed silent, and over time, the small tests turned into bigger signs that she was curious about what he was doing. This is why you need to understand her testing for what it is: a reaction to losing your attention. If you break silence too soon, you send the message that your resolve is weak and your boundaries are flexible. If you hold your ground, the tests lose their power, and she starts to feel the reality of your absence. The key here is emotional discipline. You can't control whether she tests you. You can only control how you respond. And the strongest response is often no response at all. By not reacting, you show that your silence isn't a game or a tactic. It's a choice you're willing to stick to. That's when the power shifts. 2. She will try to get your attention. When you stop talking to a woman, she will notice the gap your presence leaves. Even if she acts unbothered on the surface, attention is something people grow used to. And when it disappears, it creates a sense of imbalance. This is when many women start trying to pull you back into their orbit. The attempts can be subtle or obvious. Sometimes it's a sudden burst of activity online. New posts, stories, or updates that seem out of character. Other times, it might be a sudden reappearance in places she knows you'll see her, or casual messages meant to spark conversation. The goal isn't always to reconnect on a deep level. Often, it's simply to confirm that you're still paying attention. This is important to understand because attention is a form of currency in relationships. When you were talking to her, she had easy access to it. Now that it's gone, she has to put in some form of effort to get it back. This shift changes the dynamic completely. If you respond too quickly or too eagerly, you give her the reassurance she's looking for without her having to work for it. That's why this stage is so crucial. It's where you decide whether you're going to slip back into the old pattern or hold your ground and keep the balance in your favor. You've probably noticed in your own life that when you stop giving someone as much attention, they either fade away or they come toward you. The ones who come toward you are reacting to the change in energy. It's not always about deep feelings. Sometimes it's about the habit of being noticed. The key here is not to confuse an attempt to get your attention with genuine interest or commitment. Attention seeking can be surface level, and if you take it as a sign that everything is fixed, you may end up disappointed. The real measure is consistency over time, not one or two gestures designed to pull you in. By recognizing these attempts for what they are, you can decide how to respond, or whether to respond at all. The power lies in not giving away your attention cheaply. When it has to be earned, it becomes more valuable, and people treat it with more respect. This stage is where a lot of men slip up, because it feels good to be noticed again. But the man who can resist that instant gratification is the man who ultimately shapes the outcome. 3. She will pretend she doesn't care. When you stop talking to a woman, one of the most common reactions you'll see is her acting like it doesn't bother her at all. This is a defense mechanism, a way to maintain her pride and protect her image. Nobody likes to feel like they've been affected by someone else's absence, and for many women, the easiest way to handle it is to appear completely unfazed. This can take different forms. She might carry herself with more confidence than usual, post about how happy she is, or talk about how much better life feels. She might even subtly hint that she's too busy to notice you're gone. The goal isn't always to fool you. Sometimes it's to convince herself that she's not affected. You've probably seen this pattern in other areas of life. When someone loses something or someone important, they sometimes overcompensate by showing the world they're fine. It's a way of controlling the narrative. In her case, pretending not to care gives her a sense of control over the situation. Here's where many men make mistakes. They take this performance at face value. They assume her calm or happiness means she's completely moved on, and they either chase her to win her back or give up entirely. But what's important to remember is that emotions are rarely as straightforward as they seem on the surface. Pretending not to care is often about keeping the power dynamic in her favor. If you believe she's unaffected, you might start to doubt yourself and your decision to stop talking to her. That doubt can lead you to break your silence, which is exactly what she may want without having to admit it. The best way to handle this stage is to avoid getting drawn into the performance. Whether she's truly unaffected or just acting, your focus should remain the same, staying centered and keeping your boundaries intact. If she's pretending, your consistency will eventually force the truth to surface. If she's genuinely moved on, reacting emotionally won't change that anyway. The important thing is not to let her outward behavior dictate your actions. Strength comes from knowing your path and sticking to it, regardless of what she displays on the outside. Whether she's masking her feelings or showing them openly, your job is to stay disciplined, grounded, and in control of yourself. In the end, pretending not to care is part of the silent game that happens when communication stops. The man who can see it for what it is and not be shaken by it keeps the advantage every time. 4. She will wait for you to reach out. When you stop talking to a woman, there's a good chance she won't be the one to break the silence first, at least not right away. Instead, she'll often wait to see if you'll be the one to make the first move. This isn't always because she's uninterested. Sometimes it's about pride, control, or simply wanting to test your resolve. For many women, reaching out first can feel like giving away the upper hand. They don't want to appear needy or desperate, especially if the separation wasn't on their terms. By holding back, they put the responsibility on you to re-establish contact, which can confirm for them that you still care and are willing to put in the effort. The tricky part is that waiting for you to reach out can last days, weeks, or even months. In that time, she might still think about you, check in on you indirectly, or talk about you to mutual friends. But she won't make a move because she's hoping you'll break first. This is where patience becomes your strongest asset. Many men crumble in this stage because the silence starts to feel heavier over time. They start thinking, if I don't reach out now, she'll forget about me. But that fear is exactly what flips the power back in her favor. The longer you hold your ground, the more the dynamic shifts. You've likely experienced situations where the moment you stopped pursuing someone, they started wondering why. That curiosity builds with time, but only if you don't interrupt it by chasing too soon. If she's waiting for you to reach out and you stay silent, you force her to reconsider her position. She has to decide whether holding back is worth the possibility of losing your attention completely. The key here is self-control. This isn't about ignoring her forever, but about making sure that if and when you do reconnect, it's on balanced terms. Not because you were pressured by the discomfort of silence. By resisting the urge to break first, you send a clear message, your attention isn't automatic, and your boundaries are solid. If she's truly interested, the weight of the silence will eventually become harder for her to carry than it is for you. And when that happens, she'll either reach out herself or make it clear she wants to reconnect. Either way, you've kept your position strong, and that's where you want to be. 5. She will try to make you jealous. When you stop talking to a woman, one of the classic moves she might make is to try and spark jealousy. This isn't always about wanting to hurt you. Sometimes it's about getting a reaction. If she feels your silence is too steady, she might see jealousy as the quickest way to break it. Jealousy works because it taps into your emotions. It bypasses logic and goes straight for pride and insecurity. A single image, a single story, or a single comment can set off a chain of thoughts about what she's doing and who she's with. And if you're not careful, that emotional hit can push you into breaking your silence. Think about the movie Casablanca. In one scene, Rick, Humphrey Bogart, sees Ilsa walk into his nightclub with her husband. The tension is instant. He's caught off guard, his emotions flare, and suddenly the calm he had before is disrupted. That's the effect jealousy can have. It's a deliberate shift in energy designed to make you react. In your situation, she might post photos with other men, drop hints about going on dates, or talk openly about how much fun she's having without you. Even if it's exaggerated or staged, the aim is to see if she still has emotional pull over you. If you take the bait, you confirm that she does. The smart move here is to remember that jealousy is often a performance. Social media posts can be curated, stories can be incomplete, and situations can be made to look more intimate than they really are. If you react emotionally, you're playing into her hands. If you stay calm, you show that you're not controlled by what she wants you to see. The most powerful position you can take is to acknowledge the feeling without acting on it. You can feel jealousy without letting it dictate your behavior. This not only keeps you in control, but it also takes the wind out of her sails. If her goal was to make you chase, your lack of reaction sends a louder message than any words could. Jealousy only works if you give it space to work. The less attention you give it, the less power it has over you. And when you can hold your position despite those emotional nudges, you show a level of discipline most men never reach. 6. She will start asking about you. When your silence lasts long enough, curiosity begins to grow. Even if she hasn't reached out directly, she may start asking people around her about you. This is often a sign that your absence has started to create questions in her mind, questions she doesn't feel ready to ask you face to face. She might reach out to mutual friends, check in with family members if she knows them, or quietly scan your social media for clues about what you're doing. This isn't always about wanting to reconcile right away. Sometimes it's about easing her own uncertainty. She wants to know if you've moved on, if you're doing better, or if you're still thinking about her. The reason she doesn't come straight to you is because direct contact carries more vulnerability. Asking you outright means risking rejection, awkwardness, or finding out something she doesn't want to hear. By asking around, she can gather information while still keeping her pride intact. This stage often happens after she's tried other moves, like getting your attention, pretending not to care, or even making you jealous, and they haven't worked. Your consistency in staying silent creates a shift. Instead of feeling in control, she starts feeling in the dark. And when people don't know where they stand, they naturally look for answers. The mistake many men make here is assuming that her curiosity means she's ready to reconnect on solid terms. But curiosity isn't commitment. Just because she's asking about you doesn't mean she's willing to put in the effort to fix things. That's why it's important not to chase or overinterpret this stage. If you hear that she's been asking about you, take it as a sign that your silence is having an effect, but nothing more. It's proof that she's thinking about you, but it's not an invitation to drop your boundaries. If she's genuinely interested, she'll eventually find a reason to speak to you directly. Your job is to keep doing what you've been doing, living your life, staying grounded, and not making her curiosity your cue to act. When you stick to that, you keep the advantage and make it clear that your world doesn't revolve around her questions. In the end, her asking about you is a natural response to not having the same access she once had. It's a small crack in the wall she's built, but it's not the whole door opening. The man who understands that difference never loses his position. 7. She will reach out directly. If your silence lasts long enough, and she still values the connection, there will come a point when she reaches out to you directly. This could be a short message, a call, or even a casual excuse to start a conversation. By this stage, the weight of the silence has pushed her to make a move, instead of working through others, or relying on indirect signals. Here's where a lot of men blow it. The moment she sends a message, they treat it like the finish line. They rush in, pour out everything they've been holding back, and immediately give her the reassurance she was fishing for. What happens next? The balance shifts right back in her favor, and she knows she can get your attention anytime she wants. If you take anything from this, it's this. Her reaching out isn't the end of the process. It's the beginning of a new test. You need to handle it with patience, self-control, and a clear understanding of your boundaries. Men often mistake her message for a guarantee that she's fully invested again. But words are easy. What matters is what she's willing to do consistently from this point forward. Before you rush to respond, ask yourself, has she shown me through her actions that she's genuinely interested in rebuilding? Or is this just a reaction to my absence? This is where you need to wake up to a hard truth. If you reward minimal effort with maximum attention, you'll train her to give you the bare minimum in the future. That's not a healthy dynamic. When she reaches out, you should respond from a place of calm, not desperation. Keep the conversation light, friendly, and on your terms. Let her show, through her consistency and effort, that she's serious. If she's not, your distance will naturally filter her out without you having to push. Reflect on this. If she had never reached out, would you still be fine living your life? If the answer is no, then your focus needs to shift back to building a life where you're not dependent on her attention to feel complete. That's the kind of man who can choose to reconnect from strength, not from need. Her direct contact is an opportunity, not a guarantee. Treat it as a moment to observe, assess, and decide whether she truly deserves a place in your life again. If you've followed along, you now understand the stages a woman might go through when you stop talking to her. The testing, the attention-seeking, the pretending, the waiting, the jealousy plays, the curiosity, and finally, the direct reach-out. Each step is designed consciously or unconsciously to see where you stand and whether you'll break first. Here's the thought I want to leave you with. Sometimes, the real purpose of going silent isn't to make her miss you. It's to find out if you truly value yourself without her attention. That's the part most men overlook. If your entire sense of worth is still tied to how she responds, you've already lost the advantage, no matter how long you've been silent. This process isn't just about her reaction, it's about your discipline. Can you resist taking the bait? Can you hold your frame when your emotions are telling you to give in? That's where the growth happens. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever gone silent with a woman and seen some of these stages play out? How did you handle it? Drop your story in the comments. I'll be reading them and engaging with you because your experience might be exactly what another man here needs to hear. Remember, silence is powerful, but it's only as strong as the man holding it.